What's up, my Crusaders for Christ? You all know the drill. Go to YouTube, go to @go go go team, like and subscribe. You guys, we have got an amazing testimony. I'm so excited. I haven't heard all of it yet. I had the pleasure of meeting Brandon whenever I was on a missionary trip in New Mexico working with the Navajo. And he told me a little bit of his story, and he said that he had the willingness to share his testimony with us. So, Brandon, please, hi, welcome.
Hi. Thank you, Joy. Did you Joy? Not Joy, Joy. Go, go. My bad.
Go, go. Yeah,
Got
you
a
can
little.
call me Jess.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Come on, Joy, Joy. Go, go. Yes. Yeah, I'm Brandon Baker from the beautiful Navajo Nation, and yeah, just here to spread what I know and
So
what got
tell
me
us a
here.
little bit, yeah, tell us a little bit about your background. Did you come from a believing background? What's it like on the Navajo Nation where you came from? Because a lot of people may not even understand, the Navajo background. So what is your specific Navajo experience?
Okay. Well, I am Navajo and part Zuni, and if I could, I would introduce myself as I should, which is like I give off my clans. I say, "Got a," I am. Uh, like from my clans, I say where my clans are from my grandma's side and then my grandpa's side, or well, yeah, my grandma, my grandpa's side, and then I say what my mom and dad's clans are, and then I say my clans from that, and then where I'm from, and then um, that's how we usually introduce ourselves in the Navajo tradition. But I'm not familiar with my clans, so I can't do that right now. So, but I will say I'm Brandon from the Navajo Nation,
There you go.
and life out here is a little rough because we have no water, we have no running water, and sometimes the internet is very scarce. So if we have that, we're very lucky, and if we have them both, we're very honored.
Mm.
But it's very, very scarce out here, the water and electricity and God. But I'm glad that I found God now. So yeah, so
I noticed that whenever I was out there, I spent that week out there with y'all, and it was an outhouse situation,
yeah.
and that was very different for me, and it led me count my blessings because you know what? I noticed that the kids were still joyful.
Hmm.
They weren't immersed in technology like a lot of kids out there in society are now, which I thought was amazing. I watched these children, we gave them a jump rope and they jumped rope for as long as you would let them. I mean, they were just so happy and joyful. And it was the simplicity of that made me really kind of just be grateful, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's life out here. Like it's the
Mhm.
usual life because we really don't. I don't want to say we don't have water because we don't have access to it. It's just because we value water. We don't like it to be wasted down the drain, and we like like that kind of stuff. And we really don't need energy. We have the sun. That's our day. That's our light, and that's our everything. So we really.
Yeah.
That's like you said. We don't need a whole lot of stuff to keep us entertained. So
Yeah.
we're very simple people. Still.
And so, what is that like growing up? You said, I know the children that I met, we talked about Jesus and stuff like that, but what was it like whenever you were growing up? What is the difference between the Navajo and the way that you're raised versus like, dragging your kid to church every Sunday?
Okay, so I guess around here, the church situation, we have a lot of Mormons that would always come around and stuff. So they're always coming. They're always kind of, I guess, there. So God's presence is known, so we know of him. But most of the time, we just didn't really know of him because we didn't really know. Because it
Right.
was always like not to be not to offend you guys, but we always didn't know. We didn't trust the white people, a lot of
Of
times.
course.
So
Right.
we they would say, "Oh, here's a religion," and we'd be like, I don't know. We have our own ways of doing our own ways. So
So,
so
what
that's
does
how that
that look
is.
like? Because, people will say spirituality versus religion all the time. So, would you say that the Navajo is a little more spiritual than religious per se?
Yes, yes, very, very spiritual. We're very spiritual. Uh we have our own ways of blessings, our ways in the morning. We pray to the four mountains and stuff. We have different mountains like the east, west, north, and south. And then they all bring us back to the fire. The fire is what is mainly brings us like the fire, how it sounds. Fire is alive. So it brings us everything, the heat, the love, the warmth of family and everything. So the fire is very sacred to us too. Another thing.
Hmm. I did notice that family is very important. I mean, the Navajo really pride themselves on their clan, their traditions, which is amazing. Especially because out here in this side of things, it's very divided, even in the home. You know, it
Mm.
doesn't seem, I don't know if that's true. I'm sure that you guys have problems too, of course, but it just seems very different the way that family is approached. A little more matriarch.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a fair thing to say, but definitely like more honoring of the grandparents and togetherness through generations and that kind of stuff. Would you say that that's true?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So growing up, were you you got up, you prayed to the mountains? Was that out of you were asking for, you know, the what would you call it? The spirits? Were you asking the spirits for something, or was it more like I gotta do this?
Yeah, yes, the spirits for guidance and protection mainly, and just mainly protection and guidance for the day.
So growing up, did you have what was that like? Were your parents, so your parents were spiritual because that's the nature of the Navajo? Oh, no. Okay. Please tell me.
No, yeah, they weren't. My parents weren't. I just know of this, so I never really practiced all the stuff like that, So that was kind of cool. I mean, it's not kind of cool. I mean, I wish I was more traditional, more known to how to do that, but because we do have a sage, like I said, too, that we bless ourselves with, and then we have like more humbling meditations, I guess you could say, that would make us more in one with who we are, or with the nature.
So what was it like growing up for you if your parents weren't spiritual? Were you a little more modernized than some
Hmm.
of the other kids that were your age and stuff? Okay, so what's that
Yes.
look like?
I was more spoiled. I have everything. I have everything I wanted. So, yeah, I had water. I had water. I didn't have an outhouse, so I would never knew that was. I had a house with running water and electricity, so I was very blessed with that. So when I would see my friends with all that, what like how it really is, I was like, oh. And now they're getting older, I'm just like, wow, that is cool.
So what did your parents do? Were you still on the res or did you leave the res? Did they work out in the city? What was that like?
Yeah, well, we kind of didn't live on the res. We lived like in town most of the time. Most of my life, I guess you could say. My grandma and my mom wanted a better life, so they went to work and worked at the hospital and did the job. Got me where I am. It's a better
That's
life
amazing.
that they provided.
That's amazing. So mom and grandma raised you, is that right?
Hmm. My grandma raised me.
Oh, grandma raised you? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
my my stepdad came into the picture and he was kind of took over after that.
How old were you and do you have any siblings?
I was about 4 or 5 when that guy came in, and then yeah, I do have brothers and sisters.
Okay. Okay. And so growing up, being a little more blessed than maybe some of your other ancestors, what was that like? Did you get involved with sports? Did you get involved with drugs? Like how did things progress to where you found Christ? Give me some backstory, Brandon.
Okay, so yeah, growing up, I was a good little guy. Had fun. I basically was at the bowling alley a lot with my grandma and my grandpa, and then I was from there from 5 till about 14 or so. So it was quite a big adjustment. Well, not adjustment. It was just fun times at that time. Just a little guy playing at the bowling alley, learning all my friends, and I had. Let's see. I started probably drinking. Started doing drugs about 13 or 14. Hey. And then um yeah, about 13, 14 is when I started doing drugs. 15 is when I started drinking. And then just kind of started spiraling from there, I guess you could say. Just started doing my own thing.
Now, was drinking, whenever you got introduced to that, was it like because of your friends or how did that come about?
Yeah, actually, we used to there's a gas station down the street from where I lived at, and we used to go in there after the bus stop, and they had liquor things on there, and my friend just happened to like just put it in his pocket, and we'd walk out, and we wouldn't know until we got back to the spot, and then he'd pull it out, and we'd start just kind of sipping on it. We were just having fun with that at the time. And then it just started kind of going out of control from there because it was only like one bottle. And then we started stealing like three or four or five bottles at a time and then just having a big old crazy party. And then it was just kind of like that for a good maybe year or so. Then by that time, I started partying and drinking a little bit more and heavier and having out with more friends and just going down the wrong path.
How was that with grandma? When did grandma and mom find out? Was that acceptable? Were they okay with it? What happened?
Yeah, I would get in trouble. They would not like it, but they wouldn't really find out necessarily about it until like maybe if I got in trouble. But most of the time, they really didn't know about it because I was gone until I was like 8 or 9, until I'd go home and they would all be asleep, and I would just basically just sneak into my room and pass
So
out.
you took advantage of the fact that they were working their tails off and you kind of had
Yeah,
free roam. Okay,
exactly.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
because actually, because on Friday, like I said, because we're at the bowling alley a lot too. My grandma, and my grandpa, my grandpa worked at the bowling alley, so they always had league nights. Like, so we're at the bowling alley like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night most of the time.
Wow.
Like we're there all the time until about 2 in the morning or so.
Wow.
So, well,
Okay.
yeah, on the weekends at least 2 in the morning, because then we'll go to another spot because they had also had a bar there at the bowling alley. So that would close at 2, and then from there we'll go to another all night diner, then have dinner or have whatever midnight snacks or 3 in the morning snacks or whatever, and then go home.
Now, knowing what we know as Christians now, we know that God is with us through it all, right? So even in those moments at the time, did he stick his head out where you've seen him and didn't recognize it until later? Or were there times where you were like, hey, God, if you get me out of this binge drinking situation, I'll do this thing. Did you ever try bargaining with him, or did you even know about God at this point?
Honestly, I didn't even know about that. I knew of him and stuff, and I knew why he was here, but I never really was like spiritual or anything into that sense. Like, oh, hey God, how's it going? Like, what are we doing today? Kind of thing. And I was like, oh, hey, he's there. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. So, how did that progress? So, you're 14, 15, you're drinking, you started at like 9-ish, right?
Mhm.
Drank until about 14, 15. What happened at 14, 15 that kind of changed?
Oh, okay. Well, that's about when I started drinking. It's about 14 or 15. About
Oh,
9 is when I started going, like doing other, like just hanging out and stuff at the bowling alley and stuff. But
okay.
14 to 15, yeah. 14 to 15 is when I started drinking. But yeah, so that was a rough time. So,
So, you drank
but
until about how old? Or when did it become a problem that your family started to know?
oh, shoot. Probably like 5, 6, 7 years ago. Like kind of fairly recent. Like, yeah, fairly recent. When, probably when I was, let's see, because I was getting pretty big and stuff. My mom worked at the hospital. She was always concerned about my liver,
Mm,
and for a long time, she's always like, "I want to get your numbers so I know where you're at least." And I would always play it off. I'm fine, I'm fine. So you always have that mentality of a drinking guy. Oh, that would never happen to me. Oh, that won't happen to me. So, but for my endeavors, I did get cirrhosis from drinking, actually. So that's
wow.
one thing. Yeah, that's one thing that happened. That's kind of what stopped me, but we'll get to that. We'll get there. We'll get
Okay.
to that question. We'll get to that question.